So 2018 is a real banner year for us here in East Brunswick, and one of the big features that happened pretty much at the end of last year was that we had a record number of people who retired. And that's always a little bit of a area of uncertainty when you lose that many people. But one of the very fortunate things we were able to do in the township was to have our experience from some of the very talented people that we had here in the township, and be able to use that to bring in some very new talent that's every bit as qualified to take over the roles that we need here in the township. So what I was hoping to do is to spend a little time introducing to the township some of our new employees and people who will be taking very key and active roles here in the township. So I'm going to start first with our new CFO, Angel Albanese. Perhaps you could just introduce yourself a little bit, talk about where you came from, and maybe a little bit about what you're hoping to achieve here in East Brunswick as the CFO.
Okay. Might be helpful if I tell you a little bit about my background. I've lived most of my life in Clark, New Jersey, where I have been involved with the town council. I'm serving in my 5th term, and it's been a pleasure to do so. I went to school at Pace University, a very well-known business school in this area, and worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers for 12 years. And what I got most out of that experience was learning about internal controls, and actually some of the people that I worked with were involved in writing Sarbanes-Oxley. I was fortunate enough to have a wider range of clients, small, medium, large, high-tech, manufacturing. It was a great experience. I left there and joined a firm, a manufacturing company in a high-tech environment, and held a few different high-tech positions, and it was the greatest experience of my life to be involved with this company that manufactured image setting equipment. And I really learned the message of what are we trying to accomplish. And every day I asked myself, what are we trying to accomplish? From there, I had worked at 2 companies for almost 20 years, and the company was sold, and it was venture capital backed, and I went to a local company, a freight forwarding company, and it was great to start out with a blank sheet of paper and take and put together everything that I had learned with my background, you know, in place there. It was a great opportunity for me at that point because I was able to get involved with my family and with my community, and I felt that was a big part that was missing in my life, and I can talk on and on about that. So that's a little bit about my background.
Right, and then you eventually moved into the municipal government, which gave you that background.
Yes, so in 2000 I got involved with the municipal government. I had always been involved in government on the outskirts, but I was kind of a career woman for a long time, wanted to spend time with my family and time in my community. I was very fortunate to be invited to join Mayor Corso and his team. He was a councilman at that point, and as I said, I've served on the council for 18 years, my 19th year, and hopefully will run again and continue the trend. I had an event that happened in my life, and prior to joining the council, I got very interested in researching different information on health, and I spent a lot of time at our local library. And then when I got on council, it was really important for me to be involved with libraries and with our library in particular. And we did a great expansion project. We did a lot of different things in the township that I'm very proud of. And I think that adds to my background in what I'm doing here. I was very fortunate we're very fortunate in Clark to have a fantastic business administrator. He was the head of the Division of Local Government Services under Brendan Byrne. So he's quite old, he's 88 years old, but you wouldn't know it because he's got a very youthful attitude. But he was the one who actually encouraged me to get involved with government. He said, you know, you should become a municipal finance officer, Angel. But I was so wrapped up in my careers, I had a change in events and decided to go for my CMFO, which is a Certified Municipal Finance Officer's License, in 2013. And it's almost miraculous. I just was fortunate enough to do all of my classes, take my test in 1 year.
Wow.
I was off in the summer though, and I said, well, not doing anything, might as well look for a job. I was looking for jobs in government, nothing was coming up, and I worked for a food manufacturing company. And a couple of years before that, I was always very involved in process management operations. And I pursued my ASQ Greenbelt certification. So that's also another thing that I like to focus in on, process improvement, continuous improvement.
That actually was my favorite classes in business school. I thought I was going to love all the finance, which I liked, but it was process management, how to make things more efficient, and I really thought that was fascinating.
So I was looking for a job, and I got a job at a food manufacturing plant. It was a few blocks from my home. It's Kerry Ingredients and Flavors, and they're the 5th largest food manufacturing company in the world. It was kind of interesting because I had to interview in Beloit, Wisconsin, where they have the U.S. headquarters, but the company is located, like I said, a few blocks from my home. And I did have an opportunity there to use all my cost accounting background, manufacturing experience, and they were doing a huge capital expansion. They had just bought a huge manufacturing plant from L'Oreal, and they manufactured shampoos and what have you, and we were going to implement a liquid ingredient and flavor plant there. So I was involved in all the capital projects, worked with all the quality control people. So it was a very interesting experience, but I wanted to get involved in government. And lo and behold, the chief financial officer in Clark called me up one day and he said, Angel, I've got an opportunity for you in South Amboy. And I said, I definitely want to do this. And I went to South Amboy. It was a small town. It was a great experience. People were great. Actually, I had printed on my cards, I love this place. It was a pleasant little town of South Amboy. Great experience.
And now you're here?
Yeah, I'm kind of actually going on to the whole story. I'm sorry.
But I think that the beauty of it is that your background is in so many different areas that as I kind of see it, a lot of government is, to run it as efficiently as we would like, you have to use a lot of the same concepts that you use in private business. And so the difference between private business and government is merging and blending. And it's nice to have that background because it really comes in handy.
Exactly. I can tell you that I definitely have a different background than most CFOs in the state of New Jersey. While I was in South Amboy, I had an opportunity to meet Joe Corso. And we were involved in...
Who's our business administrator.
He's our business administrator. And I had an opportunity to work with him on cybersecurity and different projects with the GIF program we were involved with. Again, a finance officer really isn't involved with that, but in South Amboy, you were able to wear a lot of different hats. And he sent me an email. It was kind of an email blast saying, you know, Lou Neely's leaving and we have an opportunity open in East Brunswick. And I kind of chuckled. And, you know, I was, like I said, I was very happy where I was. But I, you know, was aware of that Lou was leaving. A couple of months went by and I was at the League of Municipalities and I was on a bus. We're staying at the Tropicana Hotel. And lo and behold, Joe gets on the bus and he says, is a seat available? He takes his seat. I said, sure, great to see you. And he said, hey, you never answered my email. And I said, yeah, that was very flattering, Joe. You know, but Lou, I mean, come on. He said, no, seriously, why don't you come and talk to us? So I did. I had the opportunity to meet with Joe and Michelle O'Hara, the Assistant Director of Finance, and we had a great conversation, and I was very interested. And before you knew it, met with the mayor, met with the committee that was interviewing, and
just
probably was the quickest hire ever. Yeah, no, it's, I can talk a little bit later about why I decided to come here.
Good. Well, I'm going to go to the ladies first. So I'm going to introduce everyone to Colleen McGurk, who now works in our planning department. We had 2 planners before you, and now you're being asked to take on the role of 2 people.
Yes.
So maybe a little bit about your background, a little bit in what you're looking to accomplish here in East Brunswick. And before we even go on any further, welcome both of you. And Keith's been here for a while, so I have to welcome you. We're just move you up and give you more responsibility, which we like. But Maybe a little bit.
It's been great so far. It is busy, replacing 2 people. My background, I started out after I graduated from Boston University and moved back to New Jersey where I grew up. I started out as the assistant planner in Old Bridge. I was there for 10 years until 2009 when the economy failed us. After that, I moved on to FEMA, so I worked for the federal government for a while. Then I went back to municipal work as a planner in Toms River. And then I moved on to the state as a planner at the Office for Planning Advocacy. So I've done everything except county government. What interested me about East Brunswick was all of your redevelopment plans. I thought that was a very progressive approach to new development. The live, work, play atmosphere encourages residents to live where the services are and potentially where the jobs are. So it's good for business and the residents. Hopefully increases pedestrianism, reduces traffic congestion, things of that nature. I also really liked that you're a part of Sustainable Jersey. You obtained bronze certification.
We're looking to
one of my goals
move that up.
is to get silver certification. I've already looked into quite a few actions that could benefit the township while actually also getting us silver, which would gain us more opportunities for grant funding, which we could then put back into more environmental actions.
Right. And I think if you probably have to correct me if I'm wrong, having worked in all those levels of government, the surgeon in me always wants to get things done yesterday, and I become perpetually disappointed that you can't get things done fast. But I am told that municipal government is probably the fastest of all the levels of government.
Absolutely. You could actually get things done in just a few months. State level, you're looking at a year. Pretty much you try to do anything.
Right, and the federal government is just backwards.
Well, yeah. I didn't actually get anything done at the federal level, so it was nothing was accomplished.
It's scary, isn't it? So Keith, this is our someone who now is in charge of, as director of our planning and engineering department, and has been with us for many, many years now, lives here in town himself. And so maybe talk a little bit about your role here as the director and your background here and commitment to East Brunswick.
Okay, yeah. I grew up in East Brunswick. My wife and I are both East Brunswick High School graduates. I graduated from NJIT, worked 4 years for a heavy highway contractor. Then I got a job with the Township. I've been here for 26 years, 4 different positions, working my way up. I really enjoy working with the town. I know, every drainage ditch and every drainage pattern in the town, and it's a big asset when it comes to emergencies and things of that nature. I know I work closely with the Director of Parks and Recreation and DPW, and they both grew up in East Brunswick too, and I feel it's a big advantage to the town to having us 3 on the same page and having, grew up in East Brunswick and our familiarity with it. But as far as our department, Colleen's an excellent addition. We lost some institutional knowledge, obviously with the staff we had that had been there for so long, but I have to compliment the staff I have now. We have not lost any level of service to the residents. We may not know something off the top of our head, but we research it and find out where everything is and get it to the residents or the potential commercial or residential developers so that they get the information they need. Also, we do capital projects in our department. So if the town is spending money to work on infrastructure, storm sewer, water main, sanitary sewer, paving of roads, we're involved with that, and I take a lot of pride in the work that we do, and I appreciate your effort, your commitment to paving roads, which is only going to help our community.
Yeah, I always feel like as much as we want to do, there's only so much money. Right. We can't close government down for the next year and spend all the money on roads, although we probably would get a lot of roads done. And at, what is it, about $400,000 per mile to repave roads with 180 miles of roads. Just do the math. I'm probably going to be long dead by the time we get all those roads done. But look, we have to do what we can to do and put things in priorities and make sure that we allocate to get a lot of this work done. As we start to close, maybe a little bit about what you yourself would like to accomplish short term. Long term, I know is kind of hard to figure out right now, but maybe short term, what are their goals?
I would say, first thing that I need to do is really learn what the goals and ambitions are of the governing body. My mission here, other than the stated job responsibilities, are to really understand what services the governing body wants to provide or continue to provide, what we want to expand. Certainly redevelopment is a very big, important area on the agenda of the governing body at this point, and that's going to be a focus today and tomorrow, because that's going to be a long-range plan. I was just thinking about roads and being involved with government. People don't understand the cost of a road has more than doubled in the past 10 years because of the high price. It's all oil-based products. And, there's some areas, reason why I mentioned that example is you never know what's going to happen in government. You need to be prepared. And I feel that, Lou built up a base of financial strength here so that we're prepared for emergencies. If there's a Hurricane Sandy, that's a different story. But for the day-to-day things that happen, yes, we do have water main breaks, but if we have a big problem, we have to deal with it, and we want to be prepared to react to that. At the same time, it's important to make sure that we spend every taxpayer dollar wisely. We want to get the most out of every taxpayer dollar.
Absolutely.
And keep that at bay. In that regard, one of the things that I hope to add to the job is to look for more efficiencies, look for that process management, and they could be small wins and big wins, but we're going to look for different opportunities to improve our processes. I have to say, and just to add on, with what Keith was mentioning, it is a great team here, and that was one of the things that influenced me in coming here. I mean, the people are very happy and dedicated, and want to come here each day. It's really a team effort, great department heads. I had an opportunity to spend time with everyone, to go through the town. I don't know every hole yet, but I will get there. Whether it's the parking lots, all the recreation facilities, all the public works facilities, I've been to them all. So it's really been helpful, and that was good guidance that Lou gave me before he left. And really, it's just hit the ground running. I would say at this point, the mayor knows we've been
busy.
Very busy on many, many different areas.
I think the culture part's important. I've been to organizations and companies where the culture is terrible. And anytime you have something like that, the new people that come in just get dragged down right from the beginning, and it can sink organizations, it can sink businesses, it could sink towns. Here, I've, from day one, saw a culture where people are excited, like you said, to be here. They want to do their job. And what that does is it takes new people and it makes them want to work even harder to accomplish something and to be part of a team, and that's really hard to find. It's hard to create, and it's very easy to lose. And when you lose it, it's almost impossible to get it back. So yeah, we should be very happy with that, and that's why finding the right people to replace some of those that have left was a critical decision. Colleen, maybe your thoughts on where you want to take things.
Well, one of the things I definitely need to do is to update the land development ordinance so that it meets all the recommendations in the master plan. We have a lot of residential lots that are undersized. They might be in a zone where the lots are supposed to be 20,000 square feet, but they're only 10. So they should be rezoned so that if residents want to do an addition, that they don't all have to come in for a variance before the zoning board. Other things I'd like to work on through the Environmental Commission and just through my position would be to increase green infrastructure, not making it mandatory, but encouraging developers and residents to put in more green infrastructure, cuts down on stormwater runoff, which in the end saves the township and all of the residents money. Maybe through encouraging with different techniques. If you put on a green roof, you could go over the impervious coverage, or different ways to suggest that rather than making it mandatory. Working on getting a grant for composting bins, that we could have a day where we hand out compost bins to our residents.
Great.
And they could start that, and then maybe one day down the road that could lead to curbside pickup of food waste, which would reduce what goes into the landfill, reduce the odor, and then also reduce the cost for everyone.
Perfect. How about you, Keith?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Where Colleen just mentioned about the composting, that as a society we're heading there, and there's no doubt
Correct.
it's going to come, and we have to do that because there's only so much room in the landfills. And Colleen had mentioned that, you know, the environmental stuff, and she doesn't just talk it. She lives it. She's truly a green person, and I appreciate it.
Good.
She'll catch me like, wow, do you really need that? Why don't you use a reusable container? And she's right. You know? But as far as future plans for us, I want to continue doing what I feel is excellent work on capital projects, keep that moving. As we have some complicated applications before the town right now and some difficult decisions to make as how we want to grow the town.
Sure.
And I'm glad to have a say in that and to try and help push things in the direction that the residents want and that's best for the town.
I think that's an important point. You know, we want at the end of the day that the master plan and the direction that the town moves in is determined by the people that live here and not outside forces.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of very bright, engaged residents who want to be involved in where we proceed as a town. And I think we're at a crossroads right now where there's a lot of redevelopment that we need to do because of buildings and structures that have all fallen either into disrepair or just don't work or are obsolete in today's economy. So rethinking how you're going to do that is a project that we have to do that's going to last probably for the next generation. So it may take time, it may take some money, but this is the time that we should all be putting our heads together and do it right once instead of everybody operating in their own little silos and doing things that at the end of the day probably will cost more money and not really, I think, take us to where we need to be. So being open and transparent and having everybody involved has been critical to me, and I think to everybody on the council, and we would just want to continue that. So I guess in closing, Yankees or Mets?
Mets.
She's not telling the truth.
Giants.
She's Red Sox.
Well,
That's
that wasn't an option.
Red Sox.
Red Sox.
It's okay. Giants or the Jets?
Neither. I'm a Redskins fan, but I am a Yankees fan.
Oh, okay. Yankees fans. Well, I'm a Saints fan, actually. I feel we were ripped off this year, frankly.
Oh, absolutely.
Go Pats.
Hockey team?
Hockey team? Well, I'll have to go with the Devils and
Of
the
course.
Mets.
There you go.
Devils. That's a Devils fan. It's always been like a moot point. Older people tell me they're all Rangers fans, which I
No,
just
we have quite a
hate
few
hearing.
Devil jerseys in my house.
There you go. So, well, I want to thank all of you. I want to welcome you again to the town. You don't need to be welcomed, but I wish you both, all of you, the best in your positions. And I know that we picked really good people for those roles, and you're going to do great things for the town. I look forward to the next couple of years.
Thanks,
Thank you
Mayor.
very much.
Thank you.